Everyone, welcome to Artful Impact, episode 10. Today we have Ruliko Cronin. She is a Japanese-Irish dancer, choreographer, and US actress based in Las Vegas, Nevada. She's known to be the founder and executive producer of RecreAsian Productions. She began exploring acting at the age of 18 alongside her dancing background, driven by her passion for storytelling. Now, in 2019, she graduated from UNLV with a Bachelor of Arts degree in stage and screen acting. She's also appeared in notable theatre productions such as Kiss Me Kate and She Kills Monsters with the Nevada Conservatory Theatre. With RecreAsian Productions, she's committed to creating opportunities for Asian creators and bringing meaningful change in the industry. Notably, she's currently in pre-production for the film Crazy Stupid Love, scheduled to be shot in Las Vegas this July. Thank you and welcome for coming on our little platform. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey from being a dancer and choreographer and into exploring acting and eventually founding RecreAsian Productions?
Yeah, so I've been dancing since I was 3 years old, and ever since I was young, I've always had, I guess, trouble communicating. So dance was my outlet. And then eventually, once I reached 18, I've been dancing all my life, and I realized, what am I gonna do? That's essentially what happened, because I just graduated high school. I was on my way, and I don't know what I was gonna do. And then I randomly stumbled upon this movie on YouTube called Mysterious Skins, and it's one of Joseph Gordon-Levitt's early works. And it was one of the first movies I was so incredibly moved by, and it was the first time I actually sobbed. And it was such a visceral reaction for me. And after I saw that movie, I realized I want to be able to do something like that, to make people feel so much. And it just inspired me to pursue acting. And then from there, when I told my mom I wanted to be an actor, she immediately said, go to school. And of course, at the time, I was like, Mom, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to go to LA. This is going to be fine. But she's like, Ruliko, trust me, please go to school. You need to get the technique down. You need to learn if this is something you actually want to do and can do. And of course, Mom's always right. She was correct. And from there, I realized I loved acting. I was now fully prepared, and the rest is history.
Wow. So for you, with your background in dancing and choreography, do you feel like it's kind of influenced your approach to acting and storytelling in any way?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because I feel like you have to act with your whole body. And especially with film, especially any micro movement you can do can really influence what the character is thinking and feeling. A lot of how people communicate is through body language, not just through words. You know, the saying, actions speak louder than words. So because because I have a better understanding of how my body moves and what I feel, it's a lot easier for me to dive into a character, and it's really beneficial for me.
That's fantastic. Now, for you, when you get into character, are there sort of any particular process or techniques that you sort of have in yourself to prep yourself for that?
So a lot of my mentors always tell me, don't act sad, don't act angry, because that comes off as not truthful and disingenuous. So they always say, track how you feel when you get angry. Where does it feel in your body? When you cry, do you feel it in your throat? Do you feel it in your gut? Do you feel it in your face? Yeah. So always just remember where it is in your body, and it can come out in a very truthful way. So that's how I personally prepare. Yeah. So from there, I said, okay, this character is this way. What are their motivations? Okay, so if there's a particularly moving scene, I'm just okay, so where would I personally feel it, and how can I put it onto that character so it comes off as truthful? So that's how I personally prepare.
That's fantastic. Now, for you, as you were getting into acting, how do you feel about the whole being in Las Vegas, Nevada? Because a lot of times people, whenever they think about acting, everyone's kind of going to the big smoke. Everyone's going to Los Angeles. So, and you're sort of going, you know what? I want to stay here and I want to make something here instead of going off. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, because like the thing is, Vegas isn't very far away from LA. So if I have to travel, I don't mind taking the 4 hour drive or the 1 hour plane ride. But also, I feel like a lot of people forget that Las Vegas is the entertainment capital of the world. A lot of people come here, especially when it came to the Hangover movies. Las Vegas was the baseline. And of course, like there's Cirque du Soleil, there's even the downtown theater community. There's a lot of art going on here, but a lot of people don't realize that. And also, I was born and raised here. I was always surrounded by art and entertainment. So why not start something here too? So
That's fantastic. Now, what inspired you to establish Recreation Productions? What specific goals and missions does the company, a collective, aim to achieve?
so during the pandemic, obviously, a lot of entertainers, actors, everything in the book, our entire career and our purpose vanished during the pandemic. So, at least for me personally, I actually started catching up on all these movies and TV shows that I promised myself I'd watch like from years and years back. And that's when I was confronted again with all of these mainstream stories, not a lot of diversity. And I was like, oh. And the thing is, that's one of the main reasons I became an actor, because if no one else is going to do it, I'm going to do it. So that's why I decided to become an actor as well.
Mm.
And so like once I was seeing all of these stories and like watching the media that I was catching up on, I realized a lot of these stories are universal. It doesn't matter how you look, anyone can tell it. Just because of how I look doesn't mean I haven't experienced happiness, loss, anger, all that. And so I was like, okay, what can I do about it instead of complaining about it? So I thought, what if we take these movies and TV shows that people recognize and love and adore and grew up with, but replace it with an entirely Asian cast to present it in a different way? Because I have noticed that a lot of people take on to new ideas when it's presented with something else that they also like know. So it's not too jarring, it's not too new. So it's like, again, all of these stories are universal. It doesn't matter how you look. So it just kind of blossomed from there. I talked to a couple people that I met in college and I was like, what do you think about this idea? Is it doable? They're like, absolutely it is. And then from there, this tiny, tiny idea started to grow. And then the rest is history. I was like, hey, let's film Mean Girls. Hey, let's do Crazy Stupid Love. Hey, let's do this and this and this. And like, yeah, let's go. And then I've met so many cool people, so many actors, and it just really blows me away every time with the amount of feedback that we get and how many people personally reach out to me and say, you inspire me. This is awesome. This is why I became an actor. I'm just like, thank you. That's so nice. This is such a small idea, but inspired so many people. And I'm just really, really happy.
That's amazing. I just, from what I'm hearing, it's like being sort of like at the forefront to initiate, like coming up with ideas, but also having the courage to sort of feed your ideas and take action and make it happen. And then from that process, having this ripple effect of creating great works that resonate with people, which is an amazing thing that you are doing. Now, for you, can you share us some insight, whether you have undergone certain challenges that you've encountered, especially in the entertainment industry, particularly as a Japanese Irish artist? Like, has there been stuff that you sometimes get time and time again? You're like, why am I sort of getting the same sort of thing, or same sort of attitude, or same sort of questioning of what might I do in my practice? Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, at least like while I was at UNLV, there were a couple of times where I was the only Asian actor in my class. Uh, yeah, and like I honestly didn't mind. That means it was my job to make sure I did the best work. In the event that other people came after me, they wouldn't be as alone, I guess. And of course, there were a couple times where people are inappropriate and they're like, oh, can you do an Asian accent for this role? And I immediately always say no, because it doesn't contribute to the story. And of course, in a lot of productions as well, like whether it be TV, theater, sometimes I'm the only Asian actor, but that means I have to make sure that I set the best example I can and share that I am good at what I do. So again, I set the precedent for the next actors that come along as well. I'll never forget this one incident. I one time had a call back. I was reading, everything was fine, and they stopped me and they said, "You are awesome. Thank you so much." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's fine." It's like, "Yeah, we really want you. It's just you're too Asian in the face for our production. It's just not going to work." And I was like,
Oh, did they actually?
"Why would you say that?" And I'm just like, you could have stopped at thank you so much, it's not going to work. And I'm like, all right, that's fine. But again, I think just because of the way I look, a lot of people are like either fascinated or they just all of a sudden don't understand or know how to talk to me. It's a very interesting experience. But because I'm always putting myself forward and putting myself out there and trying to normalize it, it's gotten better and better over the years. And I've noticed that also with my other Asian coworkers as well. So it's getting easier every day. But the first couple of years was a very interesting experience.
Yeah. Do you ever kind of go, oh, with these experiences, I should put it in like a film or like a skit or something because it's just so bizarre and unreal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like some of the things people have said to me, I'm just like,
you're like smiling, but inside you're dying. You're like, what did you just, can we flip it around?
Right. And like the thing is, they mean well. They truly mean well. It never comes off as malicious. It's just it just happens, and you just kind of have to. And if you deem it necessary, you can educate them, and then you move on. If not, you're just like, well, I'll just go this way and then just carry on.
It's just sometimes the majority just has to sort of showcase how ignorantly blatant ignorance looks like to you. And you just, okay, I'm like the minority here. I'm going to smile at this, but inside it's just not right. But you know what? I'm going to choose my battles, right? For you, you're like, okay, you did a good job. They obviously liked you. They just said that you just didn't look enough of an ethnicity to tick another box that they have,
And I'm just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, tell us about your experiences in theatre, because you not only do screen stuff now currently, but you've got such a strong portfolio in your theatre work, such as Kiss Me Kate and She Kills Monsters, and tell us about your experience when it comes to you as an actor on the stage.
I feel like acting on stage is very similar to dancing on stage. You are telling a story with your body, with your voice, and it's a very community orienting experience. And like, I feel comfortable on stage because I've been on stage since I was 3. So it's a very, it's just another form of storytelling. So instead of using not only my body, I'm also using my voice. So people feel something and they feel connected to these characters, and it makes them feel that, no, this is someone I could know, even if it is a fantasy element, even if it's like a sci-fi element. You always try to create a character where the audience can like relate, and it's not outer worldly, if that makes sense. So it's been a really, really humbling and fun experience, truly. It's because like one of the I think the best experience I've ever had was a show called Blood Wedding, where I actually played the role of Death, and I barely had any lines, but how the director wanted it to be was that Death was always looming over this family. So I was always in every single scene, whether it was like dancing around them or hidden or just constantly watching. And I never actually speak until like the very last act. And the thing is, even though I didn't have any lines, people remembered me because, again, I created a presence, I created a character, even through my eyes, my movements, everything. And it was such a fun experience because the director also trusted me fully and said, you are a dancer. I trust you wholeheartedly to make this choreography. You can do any weird, creepy stuff you want. And I was like, thank you so much. And it was so much fun. And I still think about it. And I really hope to be a part of another experience where it is that collaborative and that creative. It was so much fun.
Tell us a little bit about your sort of experience with choreography. Like you're not only a dancer, but you also devise movement and you share these movements with other artists. Like, how did you end up in sort of like being in that field as well?
Honestly, it was kind of thrusted into my lap because the first time it happened to me, unfortunately for this particular production, the choreographer had to leave unexpectedly and they were scrambling, and they were like, when they reached out to me, they said, Ruliko, I know you are a dancer, but can you also choreograph? And I was like, I've never done it before, but I can try. And they were like, please help us. And I was like, all right, let's go. And it ended up being a lot of fun because how I choreograph for me personally, Like I choreograph based off of emotion. Like if something feels like an arm goes here, then the arm will go there. And I also make sure that it looks good for them, it feels good for them, because at the end of the day, dance is supposed to feel good. Even if it's fast or hard, at the very end, you should feel ecstatic and happy. And so from there, kept asking me to come back, and also opened the doors for other projects. And it's been so much fun. Like it really was like just thrown into my lap, and it's been so much fun. And I got to work with so many different artists, like even kids, and it's been a lot of fun. And it's another creative outlet for me too.
That's great. So you basically were just, at the right place, and someone else decided to exit, and you said yes to something that was new. Because I'm imagining other people probably like, oh no, I'm not ready for that, and then they kind of close the door. But for you, you had a more optimistic sort of outlook, and you're like, I haven't done it, but let's give it a go, and that sort of helps you to get in the door, do a good job, and spread that really good word of mouth of how people work with you as well. So that's fantastic.
Yeah,
Now,
and it was
yeah.
kind of one of those. Oh, sorry to interrupt, but like it was also kind of one of those things where, like, because I've seen so many of my mentors and teachers do it, I'm just like, well, if they can do it, I'm sure I can. So it was like I was like, all right, if they can do it, I can do it. So it was also one of those things too.
Yeah. So, you spoke earlier about emotions. Like for you, like, is there a particular way you sort of generate emotions that drives your movement or drives your delivery in a scene? Like, how do you generate it? Do you visualize it? Do you utilize your body to physiology get into it? Like, what's your sort of mode into tapping into emotions?
For me, I listen. I focus and I listen, because another mentor of mine always said, acting isn't responding, acting is listening. Because if you're always just waiting to answer, you're not listening, and it doesn't come off as truthful. So even with dancing, especially with a lot of my dance teachers as well, they also say, I listen to the music, and if it feels this way, that's how I choreograph. And so that's essentially how I act and I dance too. I always make sure I listen to my partner and I respond with what they give me. So then it's truthful, because if your partner's giving you something somber and insightful, why would you react in an angry and boisterous voice? That doesn't make sense. And so, for example, if I'm also listening to a particular song to choreograph a dance solo, if it's a very deep and heart-wrenching song like Take Me to Church by Hosier, but I choreograph it in a way where it's very musical theater like Broadway, it wouldn't make sense. So for me, my process is like I always listen first, and then I base it off of there. And then I add all my little moments in there.
Yeah, wow. So for you, like, because you've got different modalities from the acting, the dancing, choreography, your own sort of production company, like, what would you say some of your own inner challenges that you go through and overcome maybe on a daily basis? Like, do you have sometimes, because like for me, like I'm quite high energy as well, but then sometimes there's moments I'm like, oh, like really like gone down the hill and just depressive, but only for a moment. And then I pick myself up again, and I have certain strategies to put into place to just sort of like not keep me long in a bad sort of like mental space or something like that. So tell me about yours.
Oh boy, I'm incredibly impatient. It's something that I am continuously working on, because if I want something to happen, maybe it's my only child syndrome. If I want something to happen, I want it to happen now. So if I submit a self-tape, if I ask someone something, or if I have like the energy to like pursue a project or start something, I'm just go, 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 go. But I also have to learn that like everything takes time. You have to be patient, because if you are constantly on the go and you're not just watching and listening and being patient, it's not going to be as fully flushed out as you want it to be. But again, I'm just so impatient. I want things to happen now because I have the inspiration now, but that's not how anything works. And so I've just like over the years, I've just learned to be incredibly patient, because good things take time, and that's okay.
Right, that's great. That's a good learning one. Now, can you tell us about your upcoming film, Crazy Stupid Love? Like, that is a part of your production. It's currently in pre-production. And what attracted you to this project, and what would the audience be expecting from it? Because I actually found you on Facebook through that post, and I was like, and I started Googling you, and I was like, oh, she's interesting. She's not just one thing, she's multiple things, and she is a leader in her field in Las Vegas. And I haven't actually come across with many people like that. So I thought I'd reach out. But tell us about your upcoming project.
Yeah, so we started RecreAsian Productions last year with like a bunch of random scenes that like we actually asked our audience what they wanted to see. But this year I decided I wanted to focus on films and topics where it's kind of either considered taboo or like not necessarily talked about within the Asian community. So like one of the reasons we did Perks of Being a Wallflower is because mental illness isn't really talked about within the Asian community. And then the reason I chose Crazy Stupid Love is because unfortunately in mainstream media until kind of recently, Asian men weren't seen as attractive or desirable. They were either like kind of shoved to the side as like the side character or like the weird creepy guy, and like it's almost like they weren't a fully fleshed human being. So that's why, and like personally for me, Crazy Stupid Love is one of my favorite romantic comedies, and Ryan Gosling is a very attractive human being. And so that's why I was like, an Asian man can be Ryan Gosling. And so that's why we chose to do this scene, because again, we want to show that Asian men are desirable and wanted. And then from there, and then also we decided to do Star Wars and Ghost in the Shell. Well, also the reason we did Star Wars was because, fun fact, George Lucas actually pulled a lot of inspiration from Asian culture for Star Wars. And so it's like, why don't we actually put the people from that culture into that movie? And then for Ghost in the Shell, it's a very Japanese story, but unfortunately they put a white actor to play this Asian story.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so that's why we're like, let's try to fix it the best we can. So and hopefully what I hope that the audience sees is that again, an Asian man is desirable, is wanted, and they can play anybody. And so I hope that they see that once it is released.
I think I can totally see that, because it's like you're basically now becoming more active in creating content that will start to show our audiences that it can work. You know what I mean? And the more we do that, and I think, and then especially for Asian creatives, sometimes we kind of like, you know, if we're just an actor, we're just waiting to be hired for, you know, a role, but then that role might be a stereotype, but then a whole career is just doing stereotype to stereotype, right? But if we make some sort of thing where we are trying to subvert what we want on screen, I feel like that's where we start to create the change, you know, because I'm imagining people who watch it, there's going to be hundreds of people who watch it, and then there's going to be a percentage that watch it and they feel inspired, you know, that niggling feeling where you're like, oh my gosh, they did that. Oh my God, does this person or this thing, this company exist? This is so cool. And people start to band together when that happens. So that's fantastic. And I'm looking forward to seeing all your films come out and start to create that movement. And then hopefully, you know, you just get some sort of investor back you up to do the more stuff, you know, and have
because right now, like we don't make any money off of any of the things that we do. And honestly, that's not the whole point. We don't want to make money. We just want to show what is possible. So a lot of these productions is a huge labor of love. And like oftentimes we are lucky and people do donate to help us, but half the time, a lot of the funding comes out of our own pockets. And so again, this is just a labor of love, and we do it because we love it. And we as the filmmakers and as like the next coming generation of filmmakers, we want to create the change that we want to see. So we're going to start doing that. So
that's fantastic. So for you, do you have any advice you would give to, you know, budding up and coming actors, filmmakers, you know, from Asian backgrounds, if they want to get started, where can they go? What can they do?
If you want to be an actor, creator, filmmaker, anything like that, your first step is to do all the research you can, whether that's through Google or you decide to go to school. That's like probably the best baseline, because I mean, one of the reasons my mom told me to go to school for it is because then you are in a safe environment to make all the mistakes you can, and you still have the tools. So when you do go out into the real world, it's not as daunting, it's not as scary.
Yeah.
So my advice is to immediately do all the research you can, go to school if you want to. And if you decide not to go to school, get your butt into some classes, whether that's acting class, filming 101, or anything. Because like fun fact for Everything Ever All at Once, the editors for that movie actually learned how to edit through YouTube.
How cool is that? You know,
Yeah.
it's like some sort of like really big name editor that's locked away in an ivory tower who only comes out to, you know, like these are people who access stuff just the same way we do. You know, it's amazing to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah. And just like, again, do your research, get yourself into classes so you're fully prepared. And really don't be afraid to put yourself out there. That's easier said than done, because really, like, you're ready, you're going, and then you step in front of these people and it's terrifying. It's almost like you're standing naked in front of these people that you hope like you. But again, don't be afraid, because like you are enough. It's going to be okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ruliko, for coming on board Artful Impact, our episode 10. And I am sending you much love and all the best to your endeavors. And we're looking forward to seeing more stuff come out.
Thank you. I appreciate it.